Here is a very good question. What is inheritance? When to use inheritance? As always, let's see the code example first. Here, employee is a parent class. Okay. Remember, base class, parent class, and super class are same things. Do not get confused by their different names. Okay. Then we have this permanent employee class, which is a child class. Again, derived, child, and subclasses are same things. Now notice that permanent employee class do not have any method or property inside it. But still, when we will create the object of the permanent employee class inside this main method here permanent employee object is automatically getting this calculate salary method and it is not giving error. So it is saying that calculate salary method is the part of this permanent employee class object. So how is it possible? That is possible because of inheritance. Because calculate salary is there in the employee class and employee class is the parent class of permanent employee class, right? So that is inheritance. Even though permanent employee do not have any method, but it will get the method from its parent employee class and use it. So the definition is inheritance is creating a parent-child relationship between two classes, where child class will automatically get the properties and methods of the parent. Now the next part is why inheritance is an important concept in software applications. The answer is simple. Inheritance is good for reusability and abstraction of code. For example, suppose if tomorrow you get a new type of employee and that is contract employee, then you can again derive from the same base class employee for getting the base class methods and properties. So you are basically at the same place with one piece of code, you are using it at two places, two derived classes. If you will not use inheritance, then you have to remove this base class. If you are not using this employee base class, then what will happen? You have to write all these methods and properties inside both permanent employee and contract employee class, which is basically like a duplication of code only, right? So basically we are reusing one method at two places by using the inheritance concept. This is the main advantage of inheritance, which you can use in your application. What are the different type of inheritance? This is a very important question from interview point of view. So let's explore this and compare them side by side. First type of inheritance is single inheritance. You can see this is the simplest one base class and one child class only. See, this is the code. Here we have one base class which is derived in one derived class. Very simple, no explanation needed, right? Second type of inheritance is multiple inheritance. This inheritance is very important because many questions are asked about this multiple inheritance. In this case, multiple base classes will be there. Now remember, in C#, multiple inheritance is not possible. One derived class cannot have multiple base classes. Okay, this is not possible. But yes, there is an alternative way. The alternative way is you can use multiple interfaces to achieve multiple inheritance. Okay, which means only one base class or abstract class is allowed and rest must be like interfaces, like multiple interfaces you can use. See the code here, we have one base class and one interface. And in derived, it has two parents. One is base class 2 and another one is interface I2. If I will replace I2 with some other base class, it is not possible. Okay. But if I will add more interfaces like I3, I4, then it is completely fine. So this is the multiple inheritance explanation. Next type of inheritance we have is multi-level inheritance. Here one derived class is derived from the base class, okay? And then this derived class is the parent of another derived class like this. Let me show you the code example if you are not clear. See, it's very simple. We have one base class 3 which is derived in a derived class 3, and then this derived class 3 is the parent of derived class 4. So At the end, the derived class 4 will automatically get the properties and methods of both base class 3 and derived class 3. Okay, this is like a father is getting money from grandfather and son is getting money from both father and grandfather. Okay, so this is like a grandfather, father and son kind of relationship. Okay. Now the last one is hierarchical inheritance. In this one, base class is derived from more than one, one base class, sorry, is derived in more than one child class. See the code, base 4 is derived in derived class 5 and also in derived class 6. Now this is the most used type of inheritance because normally in projects we have one base class and multiple derived class. So this hierarchical inheritance we normally use in multiple projects, in many projects. Okay. Now again, just a reminder, base, parent and superclass are same and child, derived and subclasses are same. The name is different, but the thing is same. So these are the different types of inheritance which are asked in many interviews, and these are we have in our C# programming. Does C# support multiple inheritance? How can you implement multiple inheritance in C#? We have already seen this question, but just because this is a very important question, I know you already know the answer. The answer is simple. It's no, C# does not support multiple inheritance. But yes, there is an alternative way. That is, C# support inheritance by using multiple interfaces. So when I say C# does not have multiple inheritance, because normally multiple inheritance means multiple classes. Okay. But there is an alternative way, and that is by using multiple interfaces, we can achieve inheritance. Okay. How to prevent a class from being inherited? Now, this is a tricky question, and in many interviews, this question has been asked. The simple answer is by using sealed keyword in base class. If you will mark some class as sealed, then you cannot then inherit that class. Okay. See the code here. You mark the base, the employee class as sealed. Now, when you will try to derive this class in a child class permanent employee, then .NET framework will give a compiler error. Okay. Because employee is marked as sealed and therefore you cannot inherit from this class. Here you can see the error, permanent employee cannot derive from sealed type employee. Now this is a normal answer which most candidates give in the interviews. Now to create an impression, like extra impression in interview, you can also say that you can prevent a class from being inherited by using static keyword in the base class also. This is another way. Okay. And here is the code, same as sealed class, you cannot inherit static class also. Now what's the difference then? If both are doing the same thing, then why they both exist? Means only one can exist and the problem is solved. The difference between sealed class and static class is you cannot create the object of the static class, but yes, you can create the object of the sealed class. Sealed class you cannot inherit but create the object. Okay. So now, so you have to use the keyword as based on your requirement. If you need the object, then use sealed keyword. And if you do not need the object, you do not need inheritance, then use static class. So that is the answer of this question. Here is one more quick question. Are private class members inherited to the derived class? Now there can be many these kinds of thinking question, right? If your basic concepts are clear, then it will not create any problem to you. Now here, if you see closely, private access specifier is not allowed outside the class. It is allowed only internally inside the class, right? Whether it's a private method, private field, private property, or whatever. So therefore the answer is no. The private members cannot be inherited to the derived class. Only public and protected members can be inherited. So this is the answer of this question. What is abstraction? How to implement abstraction in real applications. Let's start with the definition this time. Abstractions means showing only required things and hiding the background details. Now, what does it mean? For example, suppose you have a web application. Now the end user can use that application, right? He knows how to use the application 100%. But do he know how this application code is working internally? No, right? That is abstraction. User can use the application without even knowing the code. A driver can drive the car without knowing the engine internal working. Similarly, in coding also we can create application in such a way so that one developer can use one function but internally he might not be aware how the function is working. Let me show you the code example. Here you can see we are using substring method of a string class, right? Now, do you know how this substring method is working internally? This method is somewhere inside the base class of .NET Framework. And without knowing the background details, you are using this method. That is also a kind of abstraction. Remember, abstraction is a concept and you can implement it by different ways. One way to implement it is by using the abstract class and interfaces. For example, here is a base abstract class employee salary class, and inside this you have calculate salary method. Now this class and method can be used by derived classes like this. Now when you create the object of this employee class and use this calculate salary method, then even if you don't know how this method internal logic is working, what is the internal logic, even you can use this calculate salary method in the proper way and you will get the proper output. So abstraction is a concept of hiding the background details, right? And the benefit of abstraction is it will make your program more secure and more structured. We can implement abstraction in our code by many ways, but mostly we use abstract classes and interfaces for implementing abstraction. I hope now you get it. What is encapsulation? How to implement encapsulation in real applications? Encapsulation is a very important concept of OOPS. Most of us don't know, but we are already using encapsulation in our projects. Let me show you the code first. Here is an employee class which have a field EMP experience, okay, which is basically the employee experience. Remember when we say field in C#, when we say field, then it represents the data only. Now this field cannot be accessed from outside of this class because it is a private field. To access this field outside, we have to create a public property EMP experience like this. Now if you want to access this data outside the class, then here you can see the main method, and here we will not directly access the field, but we will access the EMP experience property. This combining of property and field is called wrapping, and this is one of the best example of encapsulation which is everyone is using in their projects. Also nowadays we use this shortcut way of writing the property, but this is just the shortcut. Internally this property is also using the field only. So the definition is encapsulation means wrapping of data and methods into a single unit. Why I included properties here? Because properties are nothing else but special kinds of methods only. Now the question is, why encapsulation required in real applications, right? In other words, why we cannot just make the field or data public and access it from outside? Why to make it private and then create the property? That is like extra work, right? The reason of creating properties will make your data more secure, and via property you can put some additional logic with this field value like encryption, description, so it's like a kind of wrapper. For example, suppose you do not want anyone to change the experience or set the experience. You want employee experience just to be a read-only data. Now through property, just remove this set statement from here, and then no other developer can set this data because it will be read only then. That way you can secure your data with properties, but that is not possible with fields, right? Now let me also show you how you can violate the encapsulation. For example, in this screenshot, employees class does not have any property. See, there is no property in it. And in the main method, field is accessed without property. It will work, right? It will work. But it is violating an encapsulation concept of OOPS because field data is accessed without property or function. It will work, but it is violating encapsulation. That is why it is not the better approach. I hope now you understand what is encapsulation. What is the difference between abstraction and encapsulation? Now, the reason why both of these concepts create confusion because both of them are talking about hiding. Abstraction means showing only required things and hiding the background details. Encapsulation means wrapping up of data and methods into a single unit so that data remain hidden and can only be accessed via the properties or the functions, right? Both are talking about hiding. But if you notice here, abstraction is talking about hiding in general, which means not just the data, but also any kind of processing, any function, they can also be hidden. That means data may or may not be the part of abstraction. For example, in this code, calculate salary is a method for employee salary class. You can inherit this class in employee class, then use this class object to call the method without knowing the calculate salary logic. Notice we are not hiding any data here. We are hiding the implementation of calculate salary method. But if we see the definition of encapsulation, then data must be the part of encapsulation. Here in the property example also, data is the part of the property. So that is the difference. Abstraction is a broader concept of hiding, whereas encapsulation is a like a proper implementation where you wrap the method and the data together. You can say encapsulation is one way of implementing abstraction also. Like abstraction is a high level thing, okay? It's a concept. Encapsulation is a low level thing, is a implementation level thing, okay? Now I think you got the difference between the two. What is polymorphism and what are its types? When to use polymorphism in real applications? This is again an important concept of OOPS. Let's see the definition first. Polymorphism is the ability of a variable object or function to take multiple forms. Now, what is multiple forms? For example, in English, running word can be used for running a race and running a business. In both cases, the meaning is different, but the name running is same, right? This is multiple forms, where same name thing can be used for different purposes. Multiple forms can be achieved in C# via polymorphism. Now let's see the code. Here you can see two functions with same name add but having multiple forms, meaning both functions with same name are doing different things. One is adding to integers and another one is adding to strings, right? Here is the client code. I variable will receive an integer value and str variable will receive a string value. This is one type of polymorphism and the name of this type is called method overloading. Now there are two types of polymorphism, compile time and runtime. Overloading is a type of compile time polymorphism and overriding is a type of runtime polymorphism. Compile time means when you build your project. Then .NET framework will convert your C# code into machine language and create a DLL for that, right? This duration of this conversion is compile time. So if there is any error, you will get during this conversion, you will get the compile time error, you will get that error in the build errors, okay? Now when the build is complete and your browser will open to show the output, that duration is called runtime. And if you get any error during this, it is called runtime error. So overloading is a compile time because when building the project, .NET Framework compiler know that these two methods have same name, but they are different. And overriding is runtime because .NET Framework at compile time not able to identify whether methods of this same name are different or same. We will discuss overriding in upcoming videos also. What is method overloading? In how many ways a method can be overloaded? Let's see the code first. See, here we have four kinds of add methods inside the same class method overloading. Now, as you can see in method overloading, this method name is same but they do different things. So the definition is, method overloading is a type of polymorphism in which we can create multiple methods of the same name in the same class and all the methods work in different ways. Now the second part of the question is in how many ways a method can be overloaded. So method overloading can be done in three ways. See, here we have four methods add with the same name, right? But there are three ways by which we can identify that these methods are different. So what are those ways? First way is number of parameters are different in same name methods. See, in first and second add method, the name is same, but the number of parameters are different. First have two parameters and second have three parameters. This is one way, okay? In second way of method overloading, data type of parameters are different. See, second method have all integer parameters and third method have parameters of double type. So this is second way of identifying that these two methods are overloaded. Third and the last type is the order of parameters are different. See, the last two methods have same parameters but different order. Here we have double int, and here we have double int double, different order. So these are the three different ways to do method overloading. I hope all the ways are clear to you now. When should you use method overloading in real projects? Now many developers think why to overload a method? Why do not even create methods with new names, right? For example, rather than creating multiple add methods, create different methods like add integer, add a string, extra, right? The reason for creating overloaded method is to cover all scenarios. For example, here how you will name this third method of add. It's like add a double integer. That is weird, right? That is not good. It will be very complex naming then. That's why we do overloading. See, even .NET Framework string class substring method have two overloads. So we can use the overloaded which we want to use from these two overloads, right? Hope now it is more clear to you why we overload the methods. Now here is a scenario based question. If two methods are same except the return type, then methods are overloaded or what will happen? Now if return type is different, then many think this is overloading. But now if you see the code here, where same name methods with same parameters have different return type, and you can see no, this is not overloading and even this is not accepted by the .NET framework. You can see the compile time error here, right? So the answer is no. This will show the compile time error. It is not possible. I hope the confusion is clear now. What is the difference between overloading and overriding? Now, this is a very important question and asked in many interviews. Differences questions are the favorite of interviewers because in this way they can check two concepts with single question. Okay, we already discussed overloading in previous videos. Now let's see method overriding. Here you can see the code. Here we have two different classes. One is base class and another is derived class, which is inherited from the base class, okay? And both of these classes have same name methods with same parameters and everything is same. So whenever we want to override some methods, we have to use virtual keyword in the base method and put override keyword for overridden method, okay? Then when you will create the object of the derived class and call the method's greeting, then it will call derived class method, not the base class method, okay? In this way we have overridden the base class method. Now let's conclude some points about method overriding. First is, in method overriding, multiple methods of same name are in different classes, okay? Inheritance is used as the methods are in different classes. Both methods have same signature. It's a runtime polymorphism, okay? Overriding is. virtual and override keywords are used in overriding. I hope you understand these points. Now, if we compare these points with the method overloading, then here are the differences. In method overloading, multiple methods of same name in single class. In method overriding, multiple methods of same name but in different class. In method overloading, no need of inheritance as it is in same class. But in method overriding, inheritance, base class, derived class are there as it is in different classes. Then in overloading, all methods have different signature, okay? But in overriding, all methods have same signature. Overloading is a kind of compile time polymorphism and overriding is a runtime polymorphism. And overloading, no special keyword is used, whereas in overriding, virtual and override keyword is used. I hope the differences are clear to you and you can remember 3 to 4 differences out of all these differences. That will be great. Now here is a practical question. What is the use of overriding? When should I override the method in real applications? In other words, like why to override the base method in derived class? Why not create a new method in the derived class? Okay, suppose we have a project with technology base class like this code, okay? Here we have two virtual methods, technical skill and communication skill. Then you derive this class in other classes like Java and .NET, okay? Now, whenever you create the object of Java and .NET, the object will automatically get the base class methods, right? That is the concept. And that is fine. This technical skill coding is a skill required for both Java and .NET technologies, right? But suppose tomorrow you want to create a class testing like this. Here you want to inherit technology base class and you need communication skill method of base class as it is. Okay, that is fine. But you do not want coding as the technical skill method. Now listen carefully. Then what you will do? You will override the technical skill method like this. For that you will put virtual in the base class method and override in the derived class testing method. Now if you create the object of the testing class, you will get the overrided method and this will be the output. I hope you get it right. One important point here, this virtual keyword which you have put in the base class method will not impact any of other derived class like .NET Java. It not impact anything negatively to it. So overriding is used to modify and provide a new implementation of the method inherited from a base class. That is the use. This gives flexibility to modifying existing method in big applications without even touching the class methods. If a method is marked as virtual, do we must have to override it from the child class? So if you have a virtual method like this, do we must have to override it? Now, if you see the Java class, we are not overriding the method, right? But still it is working fine. So when we are creating the object of the derived class, it is not mandatory like to must to like override the method always. So the answer is no. Overriding virtual method is optional and based on requirement. If you don't override it, there is no problem. Here is a very interesting question. What is the difference between method overriding and method hiding? We already compared overriding and overloading, and this is like the next level comparison. Let's see the code of overriding. Here we are overriding the greetings methods in the derived class. Now when we create the object of the derived class, then derived class method will be called, right? But sometimes we have to declare the object as base class and then create the object of the derived class like this. For example, let me tell you a scenario. Suppose we have one base class and 10 derived class, okay? Then we will just declare the obj derived variable as a base class and then we will write the condition like if this condition is true, obj derived equal to new derived class 1. Else if this condition, obj derived equal to new derived class 2. So similarly like so on and so on. So in those kind of scenarios, if you will call this greetings method, then it will call derived class method, because this is expected from overriding, right? This is overriding to override the base class method. Now, what is method hiding? In method hiding, you can completely hide the implementation of the methods of the base class from the derived class using the new keyword. Now, let me show you the code. If you see, it is the same as overriding code, except the only difference is we have not used virtual and override keyword here. Rather, a new keyword is present in the derived class method. It is not override, it is new keyword. Rest of the things are like almost same. Now this new keyword will, what it will do, it will completely give a new meaning to this greetings method. That means now this greetings method has no connection or relation with the base class greetings methods. In other words, in overriding you are overriding the method, but here in method hiding you are completely redefining the method. It is like completely a new method. And if you perform the same thing here, like creating the variable of the base class, then it will execute the base class method, because the object is declared of base class, so it will execute the base class method. The conclusion is, in overriding we override the method by using the virtual and override keyword, but in method hiding we completely redefine the method with new keyword. So even the .NET compiler will think it as a completely new method. It will not think that it is a overridden version of the base class method. Got it?